I'm also going to set the resonance down to 0%, so we don't get too much of a feedback type sound. I'm going to go over to the drive. We'll leave the drive at 0, but let's throw LFO1 onto the drive and modulate it slightly for a little bit more grit. So we'll just take LFO1, drag that onto the drive, and this is going to sound really loud with it all the way up, so let's scale that back. I think it sounds good at 6, just to add a little bit more clarity and punch to the sound. Now this sound is a little bit stagnant so far, so I'm going to go over to LFO2, and I'm going to use this for a little bit of subtle modulation. Let's take LFO2 and drag that onto the cutoff of our reverb filter. And that doesn't sound very good, so I'm going to scale this back to be at a very small level, because like I said, we just want a little bit of modulation to keep this sound from being stagnant. Right about here at 2 should be good. It creates a pretty cool effect because it almost sounds like the sound is going up and down in pitch, but it's really just the filter doing that. So now our sound is actually starting to resemble a good metallic dubstep bass, but it's still pretty plain and vanilla. So let's go over to the effects to spice things up. And right off the bat, I'm going to turn my master down a bit just so we don't clip accidentally. The first effect we're going to throw on is going to be a distortion. We'll set this to be the first effect in the rack. And I'm going to set this to be a hard clip. Now let's turn up the drive and see if we can get a nice sound. We'll start at about 51%. Let's take LFO1 and drag that onto the drive. And now we're going to scale back the modulation so it doesn't get too distorted. About 29 should be good right there. The next effect is going to be hyperdimension. This one's going to come after the distortion, but before the other effects. And right off the bat, I'm going to just take the mix and scale it back a bit because as it is, this sound is just too saturated. So let's take the mix and scale that back. I like it right about here at 36%. I'm going to go over to the dimension. We'll put the mix a bit higher. About 22 or 23% should be good. And we'll scale back the size. You want something pretty small here, so let's go way down to the left. We'll go for 7%. That sounds pretty good right there. Now I'm going to go over to the delay. We're going to put this up after the hyperdimension and the distortion. But before these other effects, I'm going to turn BPM off and I'm going to turn link on. So the left and right channels have the same delay time. And what we're going to be doing here is a very common technique that sounds really cool with a lot of dubstep basses. We're going to have a very fast delay rate where it repeats the sound in a very fast speed and it creates a tone. So let's start by putting the feedback up so we have more of a noticeable delay echo sound. I like it at about 60% right there. We don't want the delay to be too loud, so we'll go over to the mix and we'll scale that back a bit to about 21% right there. And now I'm going to go over to the delay speed. We can use either the left or the right. It doesn't matter because they both control each other. And I'm going to put this at a much faster value. It will go for about 5.99 right there. Now I'm going to take alpha 1. We can throw that onto either the left or the right rate right here. We'll just throw this onto either one. And with the modulation at a very high rate, we create some pretty cool glitchy sounds.